Hello, and welcome to another Block Chat. Today, we want to tell you about Blocksquare, the company. Yes, we're a company that provides technology and infrastructure for real estate tokenization. But in the back end, we are a company. We are actually a company all over, a company in the back end, a company, a team. We're a company that does um, provide value, that improves the technology you're using, but we trade real estate. We're a real estate company. Now, how do we trade real estate? In tokens, or we're a company that does real estate. So today, we want to introduce you more to everyone who knows us and who doesn't, to Blocksquare, the real estate company, the organization that works real estate. We want to talk about us, the team, the product, the asset class. How do we make money? How do we not make money? What is a winter to us and what's a summer? How does the company thrive? Some of the pros and cons of being a real estate company, the way we are, some additions to the team, and that's part of our team and our growth. We will be telling you everything about Blocksquare the company. If you have questions about Blocksquare the company, feel free to ask us in the comments below, and we'll definitely be with you, as well as feel free to interact with us on Discord, Telegram. And again, today, Dennis Petrovicic and Makram Hani on another Block Chat. Dennis, how are you?
I'm great. Thanks for
This is
asking.
the
How are you?
CEO of the company.
The CEO of the
Dennis,
company and the COO of the company.
company. Tell us more about the company, please.
Blocksquare is a company that was co-founded in 2018 by three co-founders, mainly Viktor, the CTO, and myself, and as well Peter, who's the Chief Compliance Officer. We co-founded this from emerging from a research that we did on the market, and we found in that research process we found a special recipe of how to tokenize real estate. And a recipe doesn't do a business, right? But it's just a recipe. You might get somebody to dinner, and that's it. It's not a restaurant. And by the way, I also own a restaurant. That's maybe why the analogy comes.
A good one, by the way, guys. A good one.
And by the way, it's the fourth time that the team at the restaurant in a row has received an award by the Michelin Guide. So since it was introduced in Slovenia, every 4 years since now, it has received this Michelin dish. It's not a star, but it was never meant to receive a star. So this is like a cherry on the top. So congrats.
By the way, guys, Dennis
that
is
company. Congrats to that
Dennis
company.
is not the chef there, and he's not allowed into the kitchen. Probably that's why. So look, guys, the minute that I've seen Dennis face to face first time, second day, he said, "Let's go, come my way. We'll go to my restaurant." And then I said, "Which one is the restaurant? This one? Yeah, you received the Michelin award. Yeah, really, should be proud of yourself." Anyway, it's a good restaurant. It's a nice place in Old Town Slovenia, Old Town Ljubljana. Amazing. I advise everyone to visit it. If you are in Austria or around, feel free to jump in. Here, I have a question, Dennis.
Yeah.
Tell us more about you. Dennis, by the way, now he'll tell us what did he study, what were his dreams prior to going into Blocksquare. We also want to know about Viktor, because Viktor, again, guys, the people in the company have roots into business. Each of us does business and reached here because of research, but also because of a passion and because we had understanding of a certain part of the business. So tell us more about you. It's very easy to tell about Peter and what he does, but your history, your dreams, what did you aspire to before? And I've looked at some of those guys. You will laugh. Let Dennis go ahead with this, and mainly Viktor also, and what does he do?
Sure. So on my end, I studied architecture, and I gained an architectural engineering degree. I never worked as an architect though, except for, whenever I invest in a property, or I basically use my own skills there. If it's not a construction project where obviously you need to have, somebody who's adequately equipped today to basically execute architectural work. So
Practice that.
yes, but it has proven for me in my real estate business side. It has proven as a skill set that enables me to make quick decisions, assess a property quite quickly, and understand how it will be utilized and how much can somebody expect, or how much is it actually worth, like the value on the market for what it provides. So I did use those skills in that setup. Never worked in a specific studio or anything. And the main reason there is because I started my studies in 2004, and that was a period of time where this type of business was actually quite thriving in Slovenia, and in Europe, and I think worldwide in general. And then I was getting towards the end of my studies, in 2008. It's a 4.5 years program. And the crisis started to show, right? So I had a lot of colleagues in college that didn't get any work. They had to move to somewhere else. And during my university times, started this restaurant as well, with partners who are also part of my family. And that's when I encountered entrepreneurship. So I had to dive into a business that I had no clue of. A certain crisis came in, so we had to kind of really dig or really go into it. So there was times when I was, doing the dishes. I was, helping the waiters.
Is
I
that
was
in
helping in the
COVID?
kitchen. Right? Sorry.
Is that in COVID?
No, that's in 2009.
Prior.
But
Okay.
yes, of course. And in those times, it's like it's a crisis. You need to do stuff that cuts down costs, and then that's where you can cut down costs in that type of business. So dealing with people that know more than you do about a certain profession. So that all challenges that I kind of learned throughout my study years, or later stage of my studies. And that got me into entrepreneurship in the first place. And I'm really proud that this business is still kind of thriving and still working well. It employs something around 15 people altogether, it's not a money making machine, of course, but it's a very nice brand that has certain value in this market and that people trust and that they like to go to. And return. So it has returning customers, and I think that the award that I just mentioned, it just proves that it's a valuable business for the people who earn there, and obviously for us shareholders, it provides certain perks. Like I can invite Makram to dinner and say, hey, let's go to my restaurant. It's nice. And I love having meetings there whenever there's somebody coming to Ljubljana. I loved hosting people in general.
Perfect. Victor, what does Victor do? What's his family? We talked about his family history and his, by the
Yeah.
way, everyone, guys, who you want to know about our team members individually. And by the way, we need to continue with the rest of the team members. We do spotlights about them. So you can go to the spotlight about Victor. However, Dennis will tell us now, what does Victor do, and how did he come up to? Because if you look at it, the business has an architect and an entrepreneur in general, somebody who's a technology expert, a legal expert, and this is how the business is growing. So every single person of us is doing what he's best at. And the initial co-founders, Victor, Dennis, and Peter, had the three elements that are required to launch such a business, because you need legislative support and you need to be able to maneuver within those rough times, you need someone who's able to manage. And Victor always says, if it wasn't of Dennis and the type of belief, and I discovered this with time, um, we wouldn't have got through the years that were rough years. And I'll tell you something, guys. I didn't ever um, run businesses that didn't have hard time, because generally all businesses when they start do have hard time. And imagine, I generally am in businesses where you know tomorrow it's a path that people have gone through before. Block Square and the path was a path that people haven't gone through before. The amount of belief you need to create things and ideas and methodology and contradict yourself on the same day is second to none. You need to be so stubborn about the idea. You need to be so rough and focused on it. You need to be non-logical, non-humane to be able to pass through those times. Really, I'm not joking. It's very and I'll get you back a year before or 2 years before, prior to going back to Victor. And what does Victor do? When we were having chats about stuff that are fundamentals as part of, I discovered how rough it is. Imagine you have an idea you developed over 3-4 years. You have a chat with someone about it, and he burns it up for you in 15 minutes, and then you need to go back together to the drawing board and rebuild that idea structure, because you want to do things structurally right. And then it's it's something. So yes, you need that type of belief, you need that level of belief to be able to carry on, especially in rough times, especially when everyone is not really committed anymore to the ethos that you're running for. So what does Victor do?
So Victor's background is, he mastered in technology in computer science here in Ljubljana, at the University of in Ljubljana. But his connection to technology goes way back, and he's born to his father, who is he studied computer science in New York at the Columbia University, and that's obviously something that brought a lot of knowledge here in this area. He worked for some really amazing companies, and then I think I would say 20 years ago, I believe, founded Medius. And so basically Victor is kind of born into IT technology, into development. So he's been breathing this since the very beginning, even probably before uni times. And as it happens, Victor and I know each other as good friends.
By the way, guys, that's not so difficult because they live approximately across the road from each other. So
that's now.
so,
That's actually now, because but at the time it was, I used to live as a kid in Italy, about 10 years altogether. And then when we came back, I kind of started training skiing, or actually I did it already in Italy, and Victor trained skiing as well. He was, and we're the same age, so we were training at the same club in Ljubljana and kind of training together, competing against each other. And a lot of our friends group who are not in business with us, they also come from this area. And we still, spend time together, less and less, because, we have our own families, we have businesses to run, etc. But obviously we try to get together once in a while. Maybe a friend receives a kid or something, right? And those are opportunities when we get back together. So, being this close friends, we never thought of actually working together, because you don't want to ruin a friend relationship there. But in 2016, I came across this thing called Ethereum, and it really, sparked a lot of interest in me. And as a skeptical idealist, or a skeptical person that is at the same time always positive about new stuff and new technologies, and obviously I'm not coming from a technological background, even though I was really close of going studying also computer sciences, because I did some basic basic stuff on my own before uni. I was really intrigued by the possibilities of Ethereum, so I went to confront the what I learned by studying Ethereum with Viktor, and he was, interested in what this whole is, and we kind of said, look, this is really interesting. Let's look if there's something viable here. Let's find out together if there's any new emerging opportunities that come up. And through that process, this kind of all came to, hey, the notion of tokenizing tangible assets like real estate, and how could this be achieved, right? So we were looking at different verticals, mainly starting with the clients that Media's already had, and how smart contracts might kind of what implications they might have there, and then moving towards areas where Media's might not have a client, but it would be interesting to just discover. So I spent, I would say, 4 months altogether in this process, or maybe half a year altogether. And in that process, when we were thinking of this applicability to the real estate sector, we obviously came to this notion of legal stuff, right? Now we were going in the real world. Now you need to see about, does this really work? Is it compliant with regulation? How does this work with the land registry? Et cetera, et cetera. And we were then there, and then we invited Peter, who was Viktor's friend. I didn't know him before, but and was being involved in fintech, but in blockchain as well. He started, helping some blockchain-based companies that were emerging here with certain things around maybe ICOs and stuff like that. And he co-founded as well, or the Slovenian blockchain think tank, with kind of merged together different organizations, government, non-government, and private entities, to have a forum to discuss things, how things might be regulated and adopted here. And there, this 3 people kind of joined heads together and started thinking, how this might evolve. Is this feasible? When will this happen? Will it happen? Is there things that won't? Is this a future that doesn't actually exist, right? And we came to a conclusion that this is not a question of if this will be done, but just a question of when. But obviously, this is 3 people that don't come from the real estate sector, but have limited understanding of real estate transactions, only some personal investments that one or the other made, etc. So now we had to discover this more. And this was, by the way, in 2017. And so we started talking with people in the real estate sector, and here in Slovenia, they're quite forward thinking, if you wish. you wish it would have been like that, but obviously it's not, right? So you get conversations that are not maybe even important so much. And anyways, we've then in 2018 officially incorporated Blocksquare as a company. We've launched a token sale at the time to get some funds in to cover for expenses, etc. We've made a deal to contribute our expertise into the company for as long as it would require to get us to an MVP level, and that's what brought us to the MVP, to tokenizing the first property, the parking space. It got us to getting other people involved in the team as well, although we kept it really small, just the required people. Then it got us to a um, to a accelerator program in Switzerland, in Geneva, and I realized that I'd never pitched before, but I realized that in this kind of startup world, you really know how to pitch. And it didn't come naturally to me, but it's slowly, and I had the luck of gaining some trust by a professor on the university here in Slovenia. He's also a VC, by the way, um, who helped me on my pitching, and that pitch got us ultimately, or that help on that pitch got us to win a competition in Switzerland for the best blockchain-based solution for real estate. And at that time, I've invested quite a lot already in the company, and we were running really short. I think if we wouldn't won, probably we would have lost. I would just say we would have lost. But
You wouldn't
so
have existed exactly. So
today
in
we
Zug,
would have, Makram, you and I, we wouldn't have met
exactly,
afterwards. There would be probably no Blocksquare anymore.
exactly.
It was that thin ice. And I remember going into that final pitch, and only the winner gets 100K, nobody else. And
Yeah.
I remember going there, first time pitching in front of 1,000 people in Switzerland against two other teams, and one of the teams is Swiss. Like, what are the odds, right? And I remember just it was this. I was kind of in the same mode as going on a slalom race on a slope just before, just putting your head down, repeating your pitch 10 times, and then going on stage. and we made it. We won that competition, and that really reassured the three people, co-founders, that what we're working on is meaningful. It's not just something that we thought in our heads 2 years ago or a year and a half before, uh, and that we were delusional. No, there was a whole group of people, judges from the real estate sector, from the blockchain and crypto industry, that really saw in our vision something tangible. I think that was the moment where really we felt strong, and our beliefs were much stronger. And from that point on, I think things went in the right direction because of this conviction that we had.
You passed this period. It's a tough period, difficult period. You received in Zug the 100K, sorry, not 100,000K, 100K as a prize, which supported the company for the next stage. You never bet or benefited from the ICO. Go ahead.
One thing that I want to add here, it's not the 100K that helped the
It's
company.
the conviction, exactly.
It's the conviction.
Yeah.
Because we were obviously invested much more in the company than the 100K that we received in the award. That didn't change much.
Yeah.
What changed is, for people who've been following us from the beginning, they know that we've launched at a peak, or at the downturn, or end of the peak of that hype cycle in crypto. There was a lot of parties we were talking to and had confirmed to that want to do some pilot with us, even foreign companies. We had a company that wanted to tokenize a 25 million property in the UK, in Leeds, I believe, if I remember correctly. And these are big players, and it was great. But as soon as the market started to crash, nobody wanted to touch us anymore. So the disbelief at that moment becomes real. You start feeling the pain, and then everybody within the team is like scratching their head and saying, hey, what am I doing here? Why are we wasting time on this? This is done and gone. It's never going to come back. So that's, I think, the main thing that helped us in 2019.
On this journey, you won the prize, conviction increased, and then we ended up as the real estate company, which is a very important subject that I want to talk about today. Let me tell you some characteristics of a company that trades real estate for people. I don't run anymore, but I still own. But I ran before brokerages, and I own brokerages today, real estate brokerages. And I tell them this is the best business in the world, and they tell me why. And I tell them because you make money, regardless if the market is on the up or the market is on the down. While what I run today is my own investment house, and I still make money on the up and down because of the way we do it. However, generally, the best party to make money on the up or on the down is somebody who's facilitating transactions. Now, what we're doing at Blocksquare is we're facilitating transactions. A regular brokerage would facilitate transactions in a conventional manner and in competition with everyone else around, and a very narrow part of society as target clientele. We're facilitating transactions where we have a big group, actually a huge audience, and we're facilitating transactions in the same market, and we're facilitating transactions of the same asset. So let's look at the asset characteristics. And I call real estate the biggest diversified pot of assets in one, because to build a property and to get to a property, you need everything from raw material to personnel to land. And the property has value of utility as well as has value related to ownership and sentiment at the same time. Scarcity affects it, utility affects it, and. So that's why it's that pot of diversified elements and pieces of assets in one. It is a perfect inflation hedge. So let's talk about how does the company Blocksquare evolve afterwards. The company Blocksquare, that yes, we are a technology infrastructure provider for parties who want to tokenize property, but it's a whole ecosystem. Why and how can we profit and benefit and grow? And where are we going? Because the whole company is going a direction. Transactions are going direction. Companies are about cash flow and revenue. Yeah, companies is not about only innovation and continue to innovate forever without cash flow and revenue. Cash flow and revenue means transactions. Transactions mean product and captive audience, utility, and at the same time means need, requirement. If you don't have a need, a product doesn't sell, an asset doesn't sell. This is what we're all about. Now, there's depth into the solution and what is it a solution for and how is it needed. Yet, this is the company that we're all about. How many individuals did the company evolve to, Dennis? And let's talk about the also new two members of the team who's just joined at the same time. Where are we going? Where will our revenue streams be as a company? Because if you're looking at the company's balance sheet, it's very important to look at the cash flow statement, understand the future possibilities, understand the value in the business cycle, and understand the value in the current and future revenues possibilities. So let's start with the team, and then we'll drift to there.
Sure. Well, the team currently, I think we've surpassed 25 members of the team. We've had 2 new members join. Roland is joining as a support specialist. So we'll have somebody dedicated helping out on support, not only on Discord and on Telegram, but as well on email. And I think this is important because it kind of professionalizes um, the way we take care of customers. And this is something that was long overdue. However, we've iterated a couple of times through potential candidates, and Roland was the best candidate that we have found, the right candidate for this role. So I'm really glad that he's joined the team, and wish him a lot of success. Um, the next is Lido. Lido is a graphic designer who comes actually uh, out of computer science, honestly, but he pivoted towards design as he saw his opportunity there. So what intrigued me is the opposite route that kind of I did. Obviously, these graphic design and architecture are different, but I went into the route more towards IT, and he went from IT towards design. And I really loved talking with Lido the first time we've connected over the call. He has a skill set on branding. He understands what branding is all about, telling a story, a narrative. And in our company, we're running two brands. So we have Blocksquare, the infrastructure provider, and we have Ocean Point, this DAO that is being evolved into a big DeFi protocol that kind of uh, provides a lot of different services to the Web3 market. And although somebody might say, "Oh, it's very similar," it's definitely not. The narrative of one and the other are totally different. So you'll be seeing now that Lido joined, you will be seeing a redesign in our Blocksquare website, a redesign of the Ocean Point website, and as we are already kind of already doing today with the branding of one and the other, we are basically shaping Blocksquare into this brand that is bright colors, very clean, very fintech, I would say, oriented as a narrative, as a brand image, speaking to entrepreneurs who want to buy into the white label marketplace product to launch their own business. And on the other side, we have Ocean Point, which is a totally DeFi type of play, DeFi product. It's about community. It's about getting people together to bring liquidity to a new emerging market. We're using new ways of how to do it, and it has this more, let's say, dark and disruptive kind of force behind it, and it's wants to be a bit more fun. Um, so so Blocksquare as a company, it's evolving quite nicely, I believe. And I think when you grow the team, you see as well that you have a sustainable business to support it, and a viable business to support it. Obviously, people joining a technology startup, they want to have a clear upside. Nobody joins a startup without wanting to do a bet. They want to do an exciting bet. If they didn't want to do an exciting bet, if they wanted to just stay safe, then they go into a business that's established for 20 plus years, and is providing them social security and security overall. And then we come back to risk reward, right? And here I believe the common denominator, or each and every team member of our team, is Blocksquare token, obviously. And this is, even though we as a company are a totally decentralized team, everybody working remote. And although we have this small office here, but this is not the actual picture of Blocksquare. And we can be anywhere. Our team members can come from anywhere, everywhere, and the only thing we need is the right brain. We need the right brain, the right ethos towards putting an effort into grasping for something that's maybe futuristic, that maybe seems like something that cannot be achieved, or it's really hard to achieve, but we do see the end of the tunnel. We do see that it's possible, and we all want to join here to make it possible. And that's what we're bringing together, and that's what Blocksquare is actually about as a company.
So we crossed the 30 minutes, but let's go for revenues and future cash flows. Where do our revenues come from? When people are looking at us as a company, let's say Warren Buffett today is evaluating, shall I invest in this company? Now, obviously, we're so big for him to invest in, not, but um, if an investor, a pro investor, is looking at Blocksquare as a company, they need to understand future cash flows, future revenues. Where do our revenues come from, Dennis? What's our revenue model?
Um, we have a couple of revenue streams, and that's how you want to build a business. You might you might have one revenue stream that's really you nailed it the first time, and it just starts going, and that's it. And then you just want to repeat and grow it, that revenue stream, before you grow anything else. With Blocksquare, it's kind of distributed a bit. So on one side, I would say that primarily we have software licenses. So we have clients who run on our tech, and these clients have are using it, are paying for software as a service in a way. So they receive access to our infrastructure. They receive certain applications that are built on top, like our marketplaces platform, and an admin panel through which they can manage this shop, if you will. And that's kind of one part of the equation on the software side. Then on the other side, what we have is a paper tokenization, or a paper grow, pay as you grow type of model, where we have specific products, and those products are a tokenization of a property, which kind of does the structuring now of the tokenization, the signing of the corporate resolution, joining them together, and preparing a token sale on their marketplace. So that's another revenue stream there. And then every property that is listed on the marketplace has a small monthly fee charge that is recurring since day of token distribution to day of delisting, if you will, or token buyback. And this is on the software side. Now, this part is created so that we have revenues today and not tomorrow. But we're not building Blocksquare for revenues today. We're building Blocksquare for revenues tomorrow. And the interesting part, when you do the math, is not in the software licensing at all. That's just one portion. But the real driver of value is the transaction fee that's integrated in the infrastructure. And when you scale this transaction fee, which is on transactions on the secondary market, but perhaps in time as well on the primary offering for specific marketplaces, this becomes really interesting, because it's not just the fee that gets to Blocksquare and thus to Ocean Point as a DAO, but it goes to as well the marketplace operator and the property owner. It creates a constant revenue stream on the secondary market trades that are being executed. And Makram, you mentioned this brokerage, right? And here, in a way, our infrastructure works in a way as a brokerage, right?
It's much better than a brokerage. It's us having a toll. And I'll ask the brokers out there. Imagine that every property you've ever sold, you will make money off every time it trades forever. You know what? I've in the beginning of my career, when I was in university, I worked in insurance for a little bit of time, and I loved one thing, that you sell a policy and then you make money off it. Every year it renews forever. When I went to real estate, I loved it much more because it's much bigger transactions. Yet imagine it's a real estate that can be fractionalized to smaller transactions and that you will make money from forever in a way or another passively. Why? Because with the insurance policy, you still have a 7% dropout rate, for example, or 3%, depending on what type of insurance it is. And then you need to work to renew and to satisfy the clients. With tokenized real estate, it's every time somebody's transacting a token, Blocksquare is making money. Every time somebody is transacting a property, Blocksquare is making money. You have a toll on property.
Now here, obviously, the beauty comes when you combine this with Ocean Point as a DAO and the ecosystem. Because when Makram says Blocksquare has a toll, actually BST holders have a toll. That's where these fees go to, and they go to basically to those who hold BST in a non-direct way. In a non-direct way, yeah. But that's where it goes. The value is then transferred there, and then it's used in a certain way, so that it brings value to token holders, and I mean that's what the company is all about. It's a company built to generate revenue. It's an engine run by a company built to generate revenue and to generate profits in the end, and reuse those profits to purchase perhaps real estate, even through the purchase of tokens, to expand its own portfolio, to generate more cash flow in various ways. So this is in a way how we are built as a company. It's a transactional company that is providing infrastructure and its ability to transact on that infrastructure, obviously.
And the asset class is real estate. So inflation increases, real estate benefits. Prices of real estate drop. Transactional companies that facilitate transaction benefit. Why? Because it will transact more. The only thing that hurts companies that do transactions, like brokerages, is stagnation. If it stops dropping, stops rising, the minute it drops more, transactions will happen more often. The minute it rises, transactions will happen more often. As long as the market is on the move, the broker is on the move, and they make money. We are a broker existing in every tokenized transaction, and it makes money. And that's part of the revenue and cash flow thesis for the future. Yet at the same time, we have, as Dennis mentioned, the licensing of software, at the same time, the utility, which, in my view, none of us and none of the people who really believe in the investment thesis of in Blocksquare, look at that as the wealth generator. Let's call it the operating entity's cost covering element, although it can be significant. And then we'll go for the big thing. And the big thing is and starts when things go mainstream. So let's talk about things going mainstream. I know that we crossed beyond the time that we promised. However, watch the session in two parts, the first 30 minutes and then continue the next 30 minutes. And I promise you, the last 30 minutes, which have started 15 minutes ago, should be the most interesting. Today, we are talking about things going mainstream. So let's talk about the progress in two things: marketplace operators and partnerships being built, to properties that are going under public offering, that have gone and that are going under public offering. Dennis, how many marketplace operators do we have today in the pipeline?
We have 10 marketplace operators today.
Very good. And how many partnerships in the pipeline?
Um, there's many, honestly. It's growing. The pipeline is always growing, and people obviously need to contemplate on how to enter into this business. Is that the timing right? They're evaluating their options.
How many millions in real estate tokenization done already?
I think we're past 70 million or 72 million.
76, 77 million?
77, yeah,
Something like
somewhere
that.
along that line. Yeah, that's on the
Very good.
infrastructure. Yeah.
And here, what are the properties that are going and being publicly offered today? We know the students' housing in Ljubljana. We know of the parking spot that is the original uh, token. And thankfully, guys, I was able to purchase some of those tokens recently. And I wanted it so badly, and and I was able to do it. So uh, there is others and other properties that are being tokenized today and have been tokenized over the past few weeks to go on to a public offering by parties who do have already and partners who do have already captive audience and a community that is interested in that.
Yeah.
Now, this is how you go mainstream. And this is what you need to grow to go mainstream. This is what you need to grow a bit at a time so that you can have more people purchasing real estate through tokenization so that more people tokenize their property and go for a public offering.
Yeah.
It goes beyond the belief. Now, let me talk about the moment because the moment is very important. Over the past 2 months, you've heard more about institutions going into real world assets tokenization than in the past 10 years. Yeah, you've heard more companies digging into that and more companies researching that over the past year. However, now they're taking action, they're coming into it. Blocksquare is your real estate specialized. We don't tokenize any other real world assets, although our technology can be used for all other real world assets. However, we are specialized. Why? Because real estate is a methodology. Real estate is a conventional approach. Real estate is legislation. Real estate is what we've done recently, which is a notarization. And in my opinion, that's history changing because you, at the end of the day, tackle the elephant in the room. The first time we've met, Dennis and myself, and by the way, prior to that, I was trying to build this. And after a few years, I discovered that I suck at building technology. And I discovered that that's not my business. Now, it's not very difficult for anyone to discover that. But unfortunately, it took me a few years to get convinced that I should stop throwing my money after building a technology company that, in my opinion, when I looked at it after that, I said, what am I doing? I've already had a decision a long time ago. I'll only do what I understand. And here I'm doing what I don't understand. And I'm generating solutions that I'm not proud of. So imagine I have a system, if my wife wants to use, she wouldn't use unless I tell her, please use it. So how would my neighbor use it? Why would someone else use it? And that's key. And then the first time we met and we were talking about, every time we talked, and we talked so much, especially at the beginning, we were talking about how will you secure investors? Yes, you'll do this, but how will you secure investors? Now, Dennis's approach was the right approach. Today, you can. We're doing what we can do. This is the level of security you can give investors, and there should be belief in the system and in how it's done. And that's why we're very cautious about only tokenizing people from things from people we can trust and companies we can trust. And that's why it's only companies. And voila, 2023 comes and we have a notarized. So on the land registry, there exists an instance of tokenization today, and 100 more can exist tomorrow. And when you do it once, you do it 1,000 times. And the difficult thing was to do what we've done to reach that. And now we did. So the elephant in the room is tackled. It's secure. And now institutions understand, okay, those guys are tackling part of the capital stack, and the logistics of the transaction is similar to what they use if they are lending against property, or if someone else does, if he's purchasing into a property or into an asset. And now we're talking a language they do understand, and the risk assessment takes it right. So here we are, Blocksquare, the company. Do you want to add anything to us, the company?
Uh, no, I think I think we're doing really well. I'm really proud of every person involved, every person involved actively and passively, that they put the effort and belief in and trust in everybody in the organization. And I think we're on a pivotal point in history of real estate. I think we're really at the brinks of something new. And there's a lot of factors implying that this change is happening and needs to happen. There's, if not else, the whole environmental thing about traveling around to invest in real estate, it just doesn't make sense anymore. If really want to impact, all the agendas that are in place by institutions, we need to travel less for transactions. We need to automate transactions. And one of the most transacted things, or least transacted, but in terms of volumes, is real estate. And if you're able to kind of facilitate this happening instantly and with the conviction of it being secure from a financial point of view, an investor point of view, I think that's a killer app or a killer product there. And I think we have this in our hands, and I believe that now that we've done this, there's a big chance of going mainstream, as you said. It's not anymore
One.
about belief. It's about rinse and repeat. We're getting into a stage where this becomes boring. It becomes interesting, but it becomes boring because you just need to rinse and repeat. And I believe that whoever joins us in this journey today with a marketplace, with as a certified partner, just bringing real estate to Ocean Point, as a member of the regional hub, as an ambassador, as just a part of the DAO, just as a token holder or something, is up for a fun ride.
We used to say it's not if, it's when. Today, I'll tell you, it's not when, it's now. It is us really impacting real estate as we know it. I advise everyone here to go and noting on Dennis's closing, to go on to a block chat that we have, or a presentation that we have on SDGs and sustainable development goals, and how will tokenization of real estate impact your community, building a school, building a bridge, fixing infrastructure, or many other things. Yes, tokenization of real estate makes sense, and today it's becoming secure. With Blocksquare, we've notarized the first tokenization instance to be notarized and exists today on the European Land Registry in Slovenia. And similarly, it can be in Germany and in Italy and everywhere. Thank you so much for being with us. Dennis, would you like to add anything before we close today?
No, I think I hope it was a good block chat, and thanks anybody who made it so far in watching us today, because it was a long one, right? It was a longer one, but I really enjoyed the conversation, Makram, and looking forward to the next one.
Same here. We wanted to talk to you about Blocksquare, the company. Because many times everyone forgets, we forget, and we see we're pushing, it's similar to us being people having that type of focus and running towards it, but we are a company. From Blocksquare, the company, on another block chat with Dennis Petrovicic and Makrim Hani. Thank you all for being with us thus far. See you next week. Ciao.